Tales from the Odyssey, Book 3, Chapter 4, The Whirlpool Monster. When Odysseus's men saw him laughing, they pulled the wax from their ears. "Untie the ropes," Odysseus ordered them. "Set me free." As his men untied Odysseus, he thanked them. "I am grateful to you all," he said. "I have heard the song of the sirens, and I have survived." The men asked him to describe the beautiful singing. But before Odysseus could speak, he heard a deep rumbling in the distance. Everyone looked toward the sound. The sea had grown eerily dark. Huge ripples began to rock the ship from side to side. The rumbling grew louder and louder until it was a deafening roar. Waves billowed and broke with great force against the ship's hull. Only Odysseus understood what was happening. His ship and all aboard it were being pulled into the whirlpool of Charybdis. "Row! Row for your lives!" Odysseus said. But Odysseus's men shouted in fear and threw down their oars. The ship began to spin in the sea. Odysseus knew that to escape the whirlpool, he must steer the ship swiftly and steadily toward the cave of the monstrous Scylla. But he could not bear to tell his men the horror that awaited them there. Instead, Odysseus went around the deck, urging each man not to surrender to fear. "We have had great trials," he told them, "but we escaped the monstrous Cyclops. We survived the enchantment of Circe. We journeyed to the land of the dead and returned unharmed. Pick up your oars now. Row swiftly. Whatever is to come, we must face it with courage." Odysseus's heart was heavy as he spoke to his men. He alone knew that at least 6 of them would soon die hideously in the jaws of the monster Scylla. Ignorant of their fate and heartened by their leader's words, the Greeks picked up their oars again and began rowing through the wildly rushing waters. As the helmsman struggled to hold the ship steady, the whirlpool's roar grew unbearably loud. Ferocious waves crashed over the ship. Soon Odysseus saw a towering cliff looming ahead. The cliff seemed to reach to the heaven itself, its peak lost in a cloud. No man could climb to its top, for the cliff's steep sides were as smooth as marble. Near the cliff's summit was a dark cave, the home of Scylla, the 6-headed monster. Odysseus thought with dread. Again, Odysseus chose not to tell his men about the monster waiting in her lair. If they knew, their courage would leave them, and they would cease to row, and all would be lost in the whirlpool of Charybdis. "Better 6 shall die than all," Odysseus thought bitterly. So again he urged his men to summon their courage. "Do as I say. Trust in Zeus. Row with all your might. Steer close to the tall cliff that disappears into the clouds." Odysseus tried to speak calmly, but he was enraged that 6 of his comrades were about to die. His fury grew until it led him to make a rash decision. He would defy the counsel of Circe. He would slay the monster before she devoured even one of his men. Odysseus strapped on his armor. He seized 2 long spears. Gripping a spear in each hand, he stared up at the looming gray cliff. Mist partially covered the mouth of Scylla's cave. The cave was so high that even the best warrior could not send an arrow or spear inside it. Odysseus would have to wait for the monster to emerge. As his men rowed furiously through the dark sea, Odysseus listened for the puppy-like yelps of the monster. He waited to see her 6 long necks and her hideous heads with their rows of gleaming teeth. He stood on the foredeck of the black ship, ready to slay her. And we will stop there.